Our relationship with the U.S., of course, remains the most important one we have in just about every way. But with the nation's elbows up right now, what does the path ahead look like? Beth Burke is Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian American Business Council. Beth, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks so much for having me.
So this all-important relationship feels like it was a little bit tested as we renegotiated NAFTA, now USMCA or CUSMA. What do your members, what's the kind of impression you get about the feeling between the two countries right now?
I think the relationship is really strong, right? There's about 400,000 people crossing the border each day. Mm-hmm. $2.6 billion of goods and services moving across. I think from a business perspective, it couldn't be stronger. We are invested in making the economies work together, focused on how having business at the table is important to both countries.
And the trade agreements obviously keep things flowing. Do you feel as though there is nervousness about the revisitation of that agreement in 2 years, or are businesses more focused on, just getting the job done day in, day out?
Well, I think both, right? The Canadian American Business Council was intimately involved when USMCA was negotiated the first time, and we intend to be very vocal partners as the review is approaching in 2026.
And when you hear from members, obviously talk of tariffs makes people nervous on this side of the border for sure. When we hear now both President Biden and, potentially President Trump sound as though tariffs are on the table. From your point of view, what's the council's view of that?
Well, we're really looking and focusing at ways that the relationship can be strengthened. So looking at supply chain efficiency, regulatory cohesion and cooperation are really important. Having predictability and strong market access are really important for the businesses that operate cross-border. So we're really focused on those things. And we're really pleased to see that Minister Anand is coming to DC this week to meet with her partner at OIRA to really make sure the regulatory cohesion is working well, because that's going to save hundreds of millions of dollars.
That focus on regulation reduction, on red tape reduction is important. Do you feel as though there's good progress being made?
Absolutely. The conversation happening is great. And progress happens when people are at the table. The Canadian American Business Council just had a roundtable discussion with Minister Anand, sort of sharing our thoughts and hopes for how that conversation can go. And we will continue to be having it on this side of the border as well.
We get this impression that, free trade is still obviously very much the name of the game across that North American zone, but that the tone around trade has changed a little bit. Do you think that's sort of fair from the point of view of the businesses that are still working to move things across the border, that are still relying on our trade agreements? Does it feel as though there's a bit of a shift in attitude in recent years?
Well, I can tell you from a business perspective, what I'm seeing from our members is that there's a bit of a move away from just necessarily the Canada team and the US team, and they're really operating more like a North America team, because that's just the way the market is moving and the way the business is flowing. So while there may be protectionist tendencies on either side of the border from government, that's certainly not felt in the business community. And we will be quite vocal to make sure that that cohesion exists at the government level as well.
So in a way, more integration across that North American zone?
Absolutely.
And where does that take when businesses are kind of planning for the future? That sounds like, we're going to see more cooperation even at the level of state to governor at lower levels of government. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think business will be involved at every level. The efforts that are happening right now around different levels of government reaching out from Canada into the US is welcome. From a business perspective, we really believe that success is driven when everyone is at the table, and we will be loud advocates to bring everyone together to make sure that the best ideas are put forward and that we can actually, cooperate and keep the integration together, because business being at the table and having a sound voice is not just important for business's sake, but it's also important for both countries' economic and national security. We've seen the integration of critical minerals, critical infrastructure, supply chains at large being a really important piece in this relationship. And the Canadian American Business Council will be present and participating in that conversation.
So glad to have you for this, Beth. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure seeing you, Amanda.
Beth Burke is Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian American Business Council. Still ahead, how barriers inside Canada are costing us a fortune.